This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 24.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I am a very self-reflective person, as I know you probably are too, because we have these rich inner worlds as highly sensitive people. And we love to go inward. We love to explore stuff that's going on in our brains and other people's brains and how they interact with each other. And so the episode for this week's podcast and YouTube channel is very personal for me. And I'm going to pull back the curtain and let you in on some of the reflections that I have been doing for myself. In full honesty, this is a little bit scary, but I am practicing being vulnerable and sharing more things. For this particular episode, I want to talk to you about your beliefs versus your expectations. Now, this came up for me because I found myself taking a lot of action towards the things that I want to achieve in my life. So I have goals for my business, like I'd like to make 100K in a year. I want to work with so many clients. I want to create another program in the future. I'm really excited to run Emotional Alchemy again in the next few months for the fall. I want to connect with people. I want to meet people, and I want to practice being the person that I want to be, whether that's in my close relationships or with the people that I'm meeting for the very first time. And one of the things that I noticed in taking all of this action was that I wasn't getting a lot of traction, but I was still exhausting myself and draining myself. Now, I know, because a lot of you have told me, that you are probably just like me. You are really good at meeting high standards, setting expectations for yourself, or meeting other people's expectations, and really going above and beyond. And oftentimes what happens if we're not paying attention is that we do it at our own expense. We take all this action and we use so much of our energy to meet other people's expectations or their requests, or to meet the expectations of what we think we quote unquote should be doing. But in reality, they're not getting us where we want to go. And I was reflecting on that this weekend as I was out and about and I was driving, and I was thinking about the difference between belief versus expectation versus desire versus commitment. So naturally, being the English major that I am, I decided to go to the dictionary and figure out what exactly do each of these words mean, because maybe the way that I'm defining it doesn't quite make sense, or it needs a little bit of adjustment. So the first thing I thought about was expectations, because I find that a lot of the times my desires, my dreams or my goals or my visions, I feel so strongly and I can see them so clearly. And you're probably the same way, because you have this very vivid imagination, you're creative, you're taking in all this information, and you're putting it together in ways that work for you as a highly sensitive person. I had these strong desires, and then I created an expectation that it should happen and I should be having it now. And if it's not happening the way that I think it should, or on the timeline that I think it should, then something has gone wrong. And I don't know about you, but I tend to turn that inward and say, oh, I've done something wrong. I don't get it. I'm not doing it right. Does this sound familiar? So I needed to check on this expectation definition. And what the dictionary says about expectations are that they are strong beliefs that something will happen or be the case in the future. The example they give is a belief that someone will or should achieve something. Isn't that interesting? So the word belief is in the definition of expectation. But what's the actual definition of a belief? A belief is trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. So as I was defining these for myself, and I tell you this because I think it will be helpful for you too, I was conflating a little bit what expectations and beliefs were. And the way that I have decided to define it is that an expectation is something that I believe, I think, can and therefore should happen. So if I have a really strong desire for something, I get this expectation in my head, especially with a lot of the instant gratification that our culture and our society promotes for us, that if I want it, then it should happen quickly, or it should happen at a certain timeline. Or if I set a deadline, then that is exactly the thing that should happen. And so it creates this expectation that I'm owed something, or that things are just going to magically happen, even if I'm working on it or not, or even if I'm learning or not. Maybe you have had a similar experience where you just want something so badly that you think that simply wanting it and believing in it will be enough for you to get exactly what you want. And then you might find, very much like I was, that your expectations are going unmet because there's a difference between whatever you expect to happen and what's actually happening. And so you get this tension where you're not accepting and loving the process of where you are. You're just very caught up in where you want to be and how you're not there. So it's very much like a scarcity versus abundance mindset, or a having versus not having kind of mindset. And I don't know about you, but anytime I think about all the things I don't have, I automatically start to get frantic. I start to want to take more actions. I want to fix it as soon as possible because I feel like it's wrong for me not to have the thing that I want. When in actuality, the thing that I want is coming. Or in many cases, I find that I actually already have the thing that I want. It's just that I wasn't seeing it because I wasn't expecting it to happen that particular way. Since I've decided that expectations are something that I believe can and should therefore happen, then a belief is something that I can literally just trust, and it's something that I choose, even if I don't have evidence for it. If you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs test, you are probably familiar with the idea of intuitive versus sensing people, or feeling versus thinking, and they're all on a spectrum. So we have all of these qualities, but we tend to lean more towards one or the other in these 4 different categories. I find that a lot of HSPs, like you and me, tend to be more intuitive rather than sensing. Intuitive people can pick out patterns and they can figure stuff out. It almost feels like a sixth sense, or you can just kind of anticipate things, but you can't always explain how you're doing it. Versus sensors, who are very facts oriented and very sense oriented. They usually like to go in order, and they like to start with the details and work their way up, versus people who are more intuitive, who start with the big picture and work their way down, right? So I find that beliefs work really well for intuitive, highly sensitive people because there's just something about it that feels right to us, even if we can't quite explain what exactly it is. When I think about my expectations, which often cause me some harm because it's the belief that something can and should happen the way that I want it to happen, versus a belief about the possibility of something, beliefs tend to open up a lot more space for me. And when I choose my beliefs on purpose, it helps me become the person that I want to be. Now, if it's your first episode from the podcast, then you probably have not heard me talk about the be versus the creator versus the worker versus the victim mindset. If you have heard previous episodes, then you're going to be familiar with this, and it's a little bit of review. The idea is that when we are victims, which many of us are taught to be, we believe that when we have something, then we can do the things that we want to do, which will then make us become the person we want to be, whether that's more confident, whether that's more fit, whether that's sexier or better with money or whatever it is. But when we do that, we negate our ability to have the things that we want to have and experience life the way that we want to, regardless of what we have or regardless of what we do. Many of us highly sensitive people are high achieving, which means we have a worker mentality. This might sound like the more productive I am, I must be productive, I must get things done. The more you do, then the more you have, and the more you have, then you can become the person that you want to be. And so it's very action oriented, but it's often not aligned with what actually feels good for you as a highly sensitive person. And it's very externally oriented usually. And then there's the creator model, which is to say that you choose who you want to be. You can choose to be that person right now, regardless of circumstances and regardless of what anyone else is telling you that you can or should do or be. And then from that place of deciding who you want to be, then you can start to take actions. And those actions will be aligned with the person that you choose to be. And then the having, the stuff, or whatever the goal or the result is, will come as a result of you being the person you want to be and doing the things that that person does. So this is important for this whole concept about beliefs versus expectations, because a lot of times when you have that worker mentality that you just have to do more and then you'll have more and then you can be the person you want to be, you tend to power through and you muscle through things and you just try to take a lot of action and then you end up exhausting yourself. And I find that this is definitely the case for me. So when you get into this creator mindset where you think about who you want to be instead, that's where you start with beliefs. That's where you can actually create beliefs about who you want to be and how you want to be in the world before you incorporate the actions that you want to take and start building expectations around your desires. A desire is something that comes from your deeper spirit and your inner sense of knowing. So when you actually follow your desires, you can create the belief that you can become the person who can meet those desires. Who is that person? What qualities do they have? What are they like? How do they approach the world? How do they see things? What's their perspective? I think those are much more interesting questions than what can I do? And if I'm not doing it right this way, then what can I do right the next way? That's a very small and narrow way to look at the way to reach your goals. And ultimately, they need to be a little bit of both action and belief and being the person that you want to be. I'm a little bit woo-woo. I love manifestation and law of attraction stuff. And so I'm going to reveal a rule that I had that I think might resonate with you too, if you are, like me, a recovering worker and becoming a creator of your life. I had this idea often, and we hear this a lot in the self-development world, that if you believe in something enough, or if you want something enough, or if you're at the right vibration for something, you will call it into you. And it makes it seem like if you just want something enough, it'll happen. I think logically, many of us know that that's not necessarily the case, but it just feels so believable. And our brains just love it because our brains are like, oh, good. Okay. So all I have to do is work on myself, which I already like to do. It's already super comfortable. And then if I just work on myself long enough, then the thing that I want will happen. And of course it doesn't, because manifestation literally means to make something real. And that means you have to take action. You have to do something practical. You have to take a step in the direction of what you want so that you can co-create it while you're attracting it from the universe. I believe that there's energy in everything and that we're all connected, that we're divine beings having a human experience. And so I think we are connected to this energy and we can tap into things and become a magnet for things, especially as we get more practice at it. But in the beginning, sometimes it's really hard, especially when you're like, I just need to take more action. I just need to do all these things. And it's not getting you what you want. There's this lack of belief and there's this lack of who you need to be in conjunction with taking the action. So again, if you're anything like me, you're probably swinging back and forth a lot. You're either taking a ton of action and not spending the time believing in yourself and figuring out who you want to be. You're just taking actions that other people are telling you to take because you think that's the way that it's supposed to go. Or you're spending all of your time on your belief and your self-development and trying to become the person you want to be, and you're not taking action. A thought that I had for a long time that really illustrates this idea that if you just believe something long enough, and if you work on yourself long enough, you'll get what you want, right? I had this expectation that my business should grow and it should be bigger than it currently is. Right? And I thought, well, okay, where does this expectation come from? That I'm supposed to be further along, or I'm supposed to have something that I currently don't have. And I realized that it went back to my grade school days, being a highly sensitive person, meeting other people's expectations, and this idea that you go to school, you get good grades, and then you succeed. You just need to be smart, and then everything will happen for you. And this always makes me laugh now, because when I unearthed that rule, I thought, oh, it's no wonder I keep going to programs, or I keep going to all of this self-development stuff, or I keep reading the books or the podcasts anytime I feel confused or stuck or intimidated. And it's because my rule was, you just go and learn something new, you get good grades, and then the success will just come for you. Except the success only comes when you take aligned action. You have to actually act on the things that you believe. So I created a new rule for myself that it's not enough just to learn something and to believe that it's possible. I also am capable of experimenting and trying new things and taking action to help the desires that I have and the vision that I have come to life for myself. And that means that I have lots of new beliefs now. I'm always learning new things. I am in programs because I still believe that growth and learning are very, very valuable for you. But I am also learning that there needs to be a balance. And maybe you've heard this before, but I like the idea that as much as you're consuming, whether that's learning, reading, watching YouTube videos, whatever it is, try to spend at least as much time creating something, journaling, writing, making art, talking and having a conversation with someone, trying something new, getting uncomfortable. Whatever it is that you're trying to create, spend at least as much time creating as you are consuming. And then you start to have a little bit more of this balance, right? I'm still doing these programs. I'm still learning things, but I'm trying to shift my focus more onto taking actions, like sharing uncomfortable, vulnerable things about the stuff that's going on in my brain with you. One of the things that I have learned from one of my programs is from Stacey Bayman, and she talks about a belief plan. And these are the intentional beliefs that you choose to believe about yourself, about the world, about the people you want to interact with, that will help you create the reality that you want to see. So here are some thoughts that are probably not serving you, but they're very common thoughts: that you don't belong, that there's something wrong with you, and that you're not good enough, or that you're not lovable, or that you're not worthy of love. These are some really, really deep fears. And sometimes, very often, we're not conscious of the fact that those are operating within us. But we all want to belong. We all want to survive. And so our primitive brains tell us these things because they're like, you need to do something different. You need to take action. You need to be taken care of. You need to do all of these things in order to survive. These thoughts have kept us safe. They've kept us in our comfort zone. So they've served a purpose. We just get to decide to do something else. These are victim thoughts, getting back to that victim versus worker versus creator mentality. So some worker thoughts that you might have are, I should have done better. I should know how to do this already, or I should know how to do this by now. By this age, I should be able to do this by now. I should be able to be very fast at this or pick this up quickly. I must be doing something wrong if it's not happening. And again, these are thoughts that you turn inward, and you make it mean something about you if you're still learning, if you're a beginner, if you're doing something messy, if you're still novice. All of those things are okay, but you have this expectation that you should know how to do it already now, even though you've never done it before and learned it before. So when you shift into new thoughts and you create new beliefs and you become the creator of your life and who you want to be, here are some thoughts that I've been trying on that I think might be really helpful for you. I have a lot to offer, whether that's making a podcast or a YouTube video, or whether it's something that you want to do in your life. It's something you want to do for your occupation. It's something you want to do in your relationships. It's something you want to do to grow or learn or to be more active and more healthy. You have a lot to offer, especially as a highly sensitive person. Another thought might be, I help people all the time. I know you. You probably get pretty exhausted by peopling all the time, but you really connect with people and you really love to be around people when you feel like you're helping them and that you're helping each other and creating that connection. So you can choose to believe, I don't like people, I don't want to be around them. Or you can choose to believe, I help people all the time and I really enjoy it. Another thought you might have is, what I have to say makes a difference. This can be huge, especially because so many of us are good at listening. We're good at empathizing. So we don't trust that what we have to say is valuable. So this might be a thought that you can try on. What I have to say makes a difference, even if it's just to one person. That was my whole point in talking about this topic today, is that if it touches one person and helps one person, then I have done my job. And if it touches more than one person and it helps many people, that's great. But my main concern is to make a difference for one person and go from there. Another thought you might have is, I can figure this out. So that goes back to your growth mindset and learning and being a lifelong learner, which is so crucial to us highly sensitive people. It's okay. I can figure this out. I might not have the answers now, but I can figure them out. It's just like Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable. You might try, I can do difficult things. This thought has gotten me through so many things in my life, because I find a lot of times with highly sensitive people, we sometimes use our high sensitivity as an excuse not to do things because it just feels too hard. And I remind myself all the time, and this might be helpful for you, that even if something is hard, you can still do it and you can still get satisfaction from it anyway. If it's something you truly believe in and really want to do, you can still do it even when it's hard, and probably especially when it's hard. And the last thought I want to offer you is, I can enjoy the process. Sometimes we get so caught up in that desire, that vision, that dream, that goal, and we can so vividly see how it's going to be on the other side that we're in a hurry to get there. And we don't slow down and we don't appreciate all of the skills and all of the mistakes and all of the learning that we're doing along the way while we're in the process. So you might be able to help yourself get out of that mindset and into a little bit more growth if you think, I can enjoy the process. I can enjoy this journey. The journey is the most important part, and the results will come. These are just a few of the thoughts and beliefs that I've been trying on that I think might be helpful for you. And if you find that you have these old beliefs, like, I'm never going to be good with money, I'm just not good with my time, I'm such a people pleaser, I don't like being around people, people are so draining, try on some of these new thoughts and choose some new beliefs that you can create every day to decide and follow through on who you want to be. Beliefs and actions actually reinforce each other, and they work in a cycle. So when you believe from who you want to be, Then you can take action that's aligned with that person, and you do it at a pace and in a way that actually makes sense for you. Then when you take those actions, the actions actually reinforce for you that you are capable, that you can try new things, and they reinforce those beliefs. So the more you believe and take action, the more your actions reinforce the beliefs, and it creates this positive cycle, this net positive effect in your life where you're both working on yourself and taking aligned action instead of trying to focus on one or the other. So just to recap, the whole reason I wanted to bring up this episode is to challenge you a little bit, to examine your desires versus your expectations versus your beliefs. Examine those expectations, even if they might seem like, oh, of course, this is just the way that it's supposed to be. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not for you. Maybe there are some different highly sensitive actions that you can take. Maybe there are some different highly sensitive beliefs that you can think so that you can become the person you want to be in pursuit of your goals. And there are many, many beliefs that I shared that you can try out, but just remember that your belief and your actions work together. You need both of them, not separately. They don't need to be siloed in order to have success. If you liked what I shared in this episode, I actually have 3 ways that you can work with me so that I can help you with your beliefs and I can help you improve every single area of your life. This is really crucial for highly sensitive people in particular, life coaching, because we tend to be very holistic people, which means that our health affects our relationships affect our work and our occupations, our work and occupations affect our self-care, which affects our energy levels, which affects our hobbies, which affects our time, which affects our money. It's all interrelated, particularly for us, because we're processing all this information and we're putting it together in our highly sensitive brains. So the benefit of doing life coaching on any area of your life is that it actually helps you in multiple areas all at the same time. My working on my belief about my business also helps me actually work on my beliefs in my relationships, in my health. My health beliefs have actually helped me in my business, and they all work together. So the more that you can continue to lean into this lifelong learner and this growth mindset that you have as a highly sensitive person, the more you actually get to improve and have more of the things that you want to have in your life by being the person that you want to be. If you are interested in working with me and finding out ways that you can continue this process, then I have 3 ways that you can work with me. Number 1 is to join Highly Sensitive Society, which is my month-to-month membership group coaching program where you can come in and get group coaching twice a month. And you can also be part of a Facebook community and get twice a month connection opportunities so that you can actually create more relationships with highly sensitive people like you. You're not alone, and there are lots and lots of opportunities for you to connect with others. The second way that you can work with me is to join my waitlist for the upcoming session of Emotional Alchemy, which will be starting in August of 2024. This is my signature 6-week program where I help you actually learn how to accept and feel your super intense, highly sensitive emotions so that you can live your life with more satisfaction, more confidence, more purpose, more connection, and not feel completely derailed and detoured by your own emotions. You can work with them so that they work with you. There are some amazing things that have come out of my first round of this program, and I will be sharing some more of those results in a future episode. And the third way, of course, that you can work with me is to do one-on-one coaching with me. This is my pride and joy, the absolute passion where I see the biggest results in the fastest amount of time for all of my clients. You can do 3-month packages where I will teach you these skills and tools that I have spent the last decade and a half learning. I can then help you use all of my best tools and tricks so that you can learn how to help yourself every single day. After those 3 months where you're doing a lot of the learning and doing a lot of the new skills, there's also the 6-month option where we can take those new skills and those new beliefs and then turn them into a lot more action so you can get things done super fast and see long-lasting results. This is really powerful stuff. So if you are interested in any of those things, whether that's Highly Sensitive Society group coaching, whether that's the Emotional Alchemy 6-week program, or whether that's one-on-one coaching with me, you can find all of those informations under the Work With Me tab on stephanielynn.com. That's Linn, and I will put that information in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to StephanieLynn, that's Linn.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.